our elders carry that last lifeline to some of that connection, that untouched connection to who we were intended to be as Indigenous people. So I think the pandemic is a really amazing opportunity for us to realize how precious it is to honor the life that came before us.
Well-known Indigenous content creator Sarain Fox is making her directorial debut today with her first ever documentary titled Inendi.
You have power when you truly, truly forgive them.
Inendi actually means she is absent or she is missing in Anishinaabe and Ojibwe. And for me during the pandemic, it was so important for me to not only connect with my elders, but I was so aware that there was this sense of urgency to collect stories that might be lost otherwise. So Inendi follows my journey on capturing my Auntie Mary, who's our oldest surviving matriarch story. My auntie actually called me out on it. She watches all my content and she was like, "You've made docs about everyone else." She's like, "When are you going to make a doc about your own family, about me?" And so I owed her one. I woke up this morning and I was like, no, this is the day the world hears my auntie. And that's been a big shift.
Although today is the day the world will see her documentary, her auntie has already watched it and critiqued it.
I am a survivor of genocide because I know a lot that didn't make it.
The last week, I drove up to the zoo so she could see the final version in person. Set it up on my laptop and I waited at her front door while she watched it. I thought she was gonna rip it apart, and instead she just rocked in her rocking chair, literally like this, and watched the whole thing. And at the end she said, "Oh, it could have been more dramatic."
In the doc, Sarain highlights the importance and urgency of telling these stories now and the impact the pandemic has had on this community.
Especially for our elders who are residential school survivors, they've experienced such isolation before, forced isolation, removal from their communities, from their families. So I think that we need to be aware that for a lot of elders who have that trauma, this re-isolation, it can be really dangerous. And I think as we go about our own lives, sometimes we're not thinking about our elders and how isolated they are every day. And for me, COVID is also a time to remember that for a lot of Indigenous people, this isn't our first pandemic.
If you're interested in watching the documentary, it's available as of today on CBC Gem. For City News, I'm Stella Acquisto.